Scaffolding is temporary support that helps children develop the capacity to eventually carry responsibility, regulation, and wisdom independently. Okay, so the idea of scaffolding, if you've ever been in a city at New York, okay, New York. If you've ever been in New York, that's where our family's from, New York, and you have these big buildings, and you'll see these rods, and sometimes they have it where someone can stand on them, and they might be painting, as they're uh, they're attached to the building. And as they're building it, there might be like these rods, and they come out into the sidewalk. You're trying to walk, and there's all these rods and things to keep the building in place as they're building the structure, the foundation, and things. That's what scaffolding is. There are other definitions, but that's the definition we're pulling from. It's a definition that is connected to a building being built. And then from that idea, that's where we've gotten um, uh, theories connected to scaffolding. And they're mostly education, from an educational theory, scaffolding, how you teach, how children learn. That's where I'm getting it from. So the idea of scaffolding is many times connected to how kids learn over time. But I want to connect it to deeper than how kids learn. I want it to be connected to the discipleship of our children. Okay, so the pillars that we're going to talk about this time is attachment and attunement, godly authority and discipleship, emotional health and compassion. Okay, so support differs from rescuing. All right, so sometimes as adults, we can get in the habit of rescuing our children, not wanting them to feel any pain, not wanting them to feel any negative emotions. And so we will rescue them. We want to make sure that they don't feel pinched or agitated or nervous or anything. And so that might look like our child does not want to go their first day of school. Well, you can stay home. Or my child does not want to go to kids ministry. So you can stay out because you just don't want to go and you feel uncomfortable and you're crying and you're upset. Some of us might have children that do struggle with anxiety when we're not there. And so we just say, okay, let me just keep you out of these situations that make you feel uncomfortable. As we do that, we are rescuing them. And so we have to see, is it something that is necessary and a part of their development to take them out of these situations? Or is it because of my own anxieties and fears? Because some of us, we might not think about it consciously, but deep down, we say, if I have them in an uncomfortable situation, that means that they could hate me later, or that means that people could look at me as an unfit mom. And so a lot of how we feel is based on how others will perceive our actions. That's dangerous because we have a litmus test for our excellence as a parent based on other people's responses and other people's desires versus the truth, versus what our child really needs, versus what our child needs to grow, learn, and thrive. And so rescuing something we've got to be aware of. Am I someone that rescues? And if we rescue with our spouses, for example, we're going to rescue possibly with our children. If we rescue with our mother or our father, we might rescue with our children. So say we have a father that has always been a substance user. Years ago, we'd say maybe alcoholic. And over time, it has been you going to rescue, making sure that he has his bills paid, making sure he has food after he has a long night. It's you that will swing in there, fly in there, and make sure he has everything he needs. Well, at the point where you have not let him feel any pain or discomfort, he is not at a place where he wants to get rid of the thing that is terrorizing him, destroying his life and probably his other relationships. And that could be a behavior of rescuing that we get used to doing. And we see the benefit of that, that we are needed, or we see the benefit of that, that our Father loves us because we are willing to do it when no one else does it. And he talks about everybody else like a dog, but us he loves because we rescue him, right? If we become the rescuer with our Father, it's going to be so much easier for us to come to the place where we want to rescue our children, because excellence is connected with us overextending. Excellence is connected to us um, being available. That's what excellence is. And so, rescuing, many times, our barometer for excellence is connected to, will people want me, love me, or will people be happy with me? It's people pleasing. And people pleasing many times is connected to our own pride. It's wanting to be seen and accepted and valuable and valued. And many times we don't get there on our own. We get there because developmentally, that was the goal, to be accepted, to be valued, to not be disposable to parents or others. So we got to see, are we a rescuer? Are we a rescuer? All right, next, children need support before independence. So sometimes we grow up in a family where at 8 years old, you were a turnkey kid. You came in the door, you had to make your own food, you had to go to the grocery store for yourself. Basically, you had to do everything for yourself. And so, as you are raising children, you're thinking, why can't they do the dishes by themselves? Why can't they figure this out? Why can't they figure out how to, change the oil on a vehicle? Why can't they just figure that out? I did it. But you got to think about, when you did it, you probably had a yearn and a desire to be taught. You probably had a yearn and a desire to not have to do things developmentally inappropriate. You probably had a yearning and a desire to be outside with other kids. And so the support is necessary in order to learn the skill well. And then when you learn it well, that's where the scaffolding comes. When you learn it well, when you have support, when you have discipleship, when you have training, then you can do the job well, okay, by yourself. So many of us, we may have had a job where they just threw us out there on the job training. You're going to figure it out. What did that feel like to learn on the job? You might have grown learning on the job, but is that your plan A? Would that have been the way you wanted it, just to get thrown in there to the wolves and figure it out? For most of us, if we have some training, if we have some scaffolding, we build competence and we start to trust ourselves in that new area that is uncomfortable and uncharted territory. And we need to build competence so that we can trust our ability in that thing. And so sometimes when our children are just not doing things that we want them to do, we gotta say, okay, are they competent in that area? Are they competent in their area? Would they trust themselves to do it alone? Okay, not running to, oh, they just don't want to do it. Oh, they're so lazy. Oh, these kids in this generation. But saying, okay, have I done it with them enough where they've been trained, where they can understand? Do I have a board that they can mark off and say, okay, you've done it, or a skylight app where, it marks off their chores. And so I'm not just having to yell it at them and then get angry because they didn't do it. And yeah, there are some supports there to help them be independent, but also to be successful in getting it done. All right, growth happens gradually. So you may want your children to be able to do a lot by themselves, but growth happens gradually. If our child is learning math and having trouble with it, we've got to leave space and room for them to have smaller targets before they know calculus. So they need to learn, they need to grow, they need repetition, they need adjustments in how they learned it. Maybe they don't learn it well this way, maybe they need to learn it this way. And gradually, over time, there is growth. There is growth that's connected to competency, that's connected to them trusting themselves, that's connected to them independently helping others. And you start to see them gain a success in that area, but it happens gradually. Some of us as parents, we may have come from families where we didn't get the opportunity to have gradual growth. We had to figure it out. We had to already be excellent at it. but we're not in a survival mode any longer. Prayerfully, we don't have to live from a place of trauma anymore. And so we don't have to just be excellent because no one's coming to save us and because we'll drown, but you are the scaffolding. You prayerfully, mentally, physically, emotionally have the capacity to help your children grow, learn, and thrive without having to make it a survival situation. But we have to remind ourselves, if it's true, I pray it is true, but if it is true that we aren't in survival, or we're not in a domestic violent relationship, um, our spouse is not homicidal, suicidal. If that's not the case, then we actually have the capacity to be there for our children and to be that life jacket, to be um, that lifesaver for them when they can't figure it out or when they need extra help and support. Okay. And not rescue the way I said before, but to give them support, all right, in their growth process. So healthy support adjusts with maturity. Healthy support adjusts just with maturity. What we see with scaffolding is that there's a lot of scaffolding on the bottom. And then as we gradually get higher up on this building, there's less need for support. There's less and less support until we get to a place where it's really steady. And that might be a college, them touching base with us. That might be them getting married and they're touching base with us, but they don't need our structures the way they needed it before, right? Because they're building their own now. They have their own household, their own family. So support adjusts over time. And if you're having a struggle with that, the Awaken Life, you may be, if you're a woman, you might be a good candidate for the Awaken Life, where we talk about adjustment over time and different seasons of life and how that can leave us feeling empty and devalued. But it's really just changes in support looks different for our children in different seasons, and that is okay. That is all right. The maturity should give you solace and hope that it's okay that it's changed. Um, as if we see that and our children are mature enough to handle it, then we've trained them well. The word of God says, if you train up a child in the way that they should go, as they get older, they will not depart from it. They are connected to that truth. They are connected to the truth and the law of the Lord. If you didn't, if you have a couple of children that have already gone off and they're doing their own thing apart from the Lord, and you're just really trying to make sure your last child, it's different, well, I'm glad you're here. And we're going to continue with this, and you're going to get some good things to help with your older children as well. But the mindset shifts first, and then they will feel these changes in how you interact with them. And I pray that your relationship with them grows and that maturity is still a possibility through a different type of training than the child that's still at home. Okay. All right. So you will get some Bible verses. I pray that you look at those, review those. Educational psychology introduced scaffolding to describe how learners develop through guided support. So it's about guiding, it's about supporting. It's not about them figure it out on their own. That's what we're doing here today. That's what we're doing through the scaffolding. I'm actually providing scaffolding for you too. You don't have to figure it out all in one day, but these lessons are actually going to help you to be the parent that can hold a scaffolding for your children. All right. So where does my child need more support? Reflection question 1. Where does my child need more support? Where might I be expecting maturity too quickly? Where? Where? It might be multiple places, and that's okay. We've got to be aware of it so that we can say, developmentally, I don't know if they're there yet. And that's okay. They need me to help them. Number 3, where am I over helping out of fear?